What's going on, everybody? So, obviously, there's a conflict going on in Eastern Europe, and everyone's paying attention to it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. All right, there's some worrisome things going on, some pipelines, etc., etc. Potential nukes being moved closer to the border. Could just be provocations. Could just be posturing. Could just be Putin saving face. Could be all those things. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. It's what it really is. It's just a waiting game. But while everyone's focus is there, I'm paying attention to the Far East. Because it's always been a speculation of mine that if anything was going to pop off, it was going to come from North Korea. And I know that sounds crazy to people. But for some reason, I guess I've got it stuck in my head that China is going to use North Korea as a distraction so they can invade Taiwan. Now, looking at the numbers, I don't think China has the ability to do it. They don't have enough military ships to get the amount of troops there that they need to. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have a bunch of planes and some hangars somewhere that we don't know about, and they just drop 300,000 paratroopers overnight. That could happen. It also doesn't mean that they don't just text everybody in their military and say, "Hey, show up to the coast, get in a fishing boat, and go." They obviously lose a ton of troops on the way, but if the world is distracted with North Korea, it might be possible. I still think they would fail in the long run. I mean, Taiwan's been planning for this since the 40s, 50s. But I think it would pop off with North Korea. And what we saw yesterday, we reported on this channel yesterday, that North Korea fired a missile over Japan. It nearly made it to Hawaii, by the way. I know there ain't a lot of people reporting that, but it landed just a little bit shy of Hawaii. Now, it wasn't in our waters, so it was probably 1,500 miles off, or 1,000 miles, or 500 miles, whatever. I didn't measure it out on the map, but it got pretty close. But either way, that happened. The Japanese government told a bunch of, they texted it out, sent out alerts, sirens were going off all over the country, find shelter immediately as the missile was flying over. And this is the first time that North Korea has done something like this since 2017. And in a very, very, very unusual turn of events, the U.S. and Japan responded. They also shot missiles into the sea. And South Korea had a blunder, but let's go ahead and get into that. So, South Korea and U.S. fire 4 surface-to-surface missiles in rare response to the North Korea's launch. Update, 1838 or 6:38 Eastern Time. The United States and South Korea have answered Tuesday's ultra-provocative North Korean launch of an intermediate-range ballistic missile which flew directly over Japan, triggering nationwide emergency alerts warning Japanese citizens to take shelter. Yonhap News is reporting that allied militaries of South Korea and the U.S. have now launched 4 surface-to-surface missiles into the East Sea in a clear and rare response to the provocation from Pyongyang during the overnight hours. There are simultaneous, though unconfirmed, reports that one of the South Korean missiles, the blunder I was talking about, may have failed or crashed soon after launch. Breaking South Korean military says one of its surface-to-surface missiles crashed soon after the launch. You can see this here from the South Korean military base. And that video was taken in this location on the base. So we think that, they shot and, got them messed up. The U.S. and Japan also put some fighter craft in the air. And this is kind of rare, guys. I'm trying to get the point across. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me being biased on this issue. I've always thought that this was going to be the powder keg, if you will. And again, I'm not trying to down talk what's happening in Eastern Europe, by no means, because that could obviously be the thing. But I've always had it in my head that it was going to be in this location, this area. The U.S. has a ton of troops in South Korea, and if North Korea decided they're just going to start popping off, the U.S. is going to be forced to respond with extreme prejudice. God, I can't even talk today. So I know that a lot of people aren't reporting on this. I know that you're probably not going to see this in a lot of places or on other channels, but I'm telling you, this is something that you really need to pay attention to. You need to be looking out and finding all the news that you can be out of this area. Now, in other news, before we end the day here, just going to show you real quickly, we do have a hurricane you can see here, but this is 10 days out, and models are not really that good that far out, but they can be somewhat trusted. However, we're going to get lucky this time because we're going to have a huge cold front come down and break it up, and I mean just completely disintegrate that. And you can see the cold front a little better if we switch over to the temperature data. You can see it swirling here, and yeah, see the cold front just plunges down into the Gulf. It's going to break up that hurricane and send it off to the east. Good news for us, you know, cooler temperatures are coming. Bad news for Europe, who desperately need petrochemicals so they don't freeze to death this winter. That's also going to make the dollar stronger, but I talk about that on my other channel, Joshua Thompson. A little bit of space weather, nothing really big to say anything about. We had an X-class flare back here a couple days ago, or yesterday, excuse me. But, you know, none of this is really that big of a deal. It's nothing to worry about. There is a CME coming, and it's gonna hit Earth. Earth is the yellow dot there, but nothing to really worry about. It's not the big one. It's not going to end the world or anything like that. So if you see other channels reporting and saying, oh my God, another coronal mass ejection, it's going to wipe everything out. Is this the one? Do you need a Faraday cage? Buy all of my products. You're good. You're fine. There's nothing to worry about. This is not the end. Yellowstone has not cracked open. If you've been watching any of the, oh God, that is everywhere on YouTube about Yellowstone about to blow its top. It's fine. There's no problem. The geysers are still working like they're supposed to relieve all the pressure. Everything is good. If there really is a problem, I promise you I will update you, okay? I love each and every one of you. I'll see you in the next video.